Good evening, you beautiful people. Love is definitely all around. Welcome to TCB Studios. Happy Monday night. Welcome to Burn It Down. We have so much to cover, so we are going to dive right in. A shout out to my sister, producer, director, partner, Renee Jaworski. She'll be joining us in about 15 minutes. This person, I'm super excited to have her on the show. She had such a successful um, poetry event this weekend. We want to talk about that. We want to talk about the past. We want to talk about how we met, and we want to certainly talk about the future. A poet, a writer, a storyteller, a songwriter, a curator, an event planner, a chef, a banjo player, a ukulele player. You guys may know her as Silvia on the ukulele, but tonight, wearing many hats, she is just Silvia. Hello there.
Hi.
How you doing? I can't believe how alive and beautiful you look because I would imagine you'd be exhausted after this weekend and everything you've had going on. Congratulations
Oh,
on
thank
the
you.
success of the PBJ Poetry Festival at Bibliotech. Shout out to Bibliotech. That was wonderful.
Thank you. And you were part of the name
Yeah,
of the festival. It was called the PBJ Poetry Festival, and it was kind of an homage to the BLT show that you've had on Kimono.
yeah, yeah. It was a wonderful idea, a play on it. Yes, and I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah, so the PBJ was supposed to be this other sandwich component to poetry to the BLT show. And so the first year it was virtual because it was during the pandemic. So it was a
Hmm.
lot of the same, not the same, but a lot of musicians from Kimono were in this poetry festival. And
Right.
so a lot of the musicians were actually reading lyrics from their songs. So it was really interesting to hear just the lyrics as standalone as poetry.
Sure.
And then the second year, I actually was able to find a venue, and so it was this hybrid event. It was part virtual and part in person. Um, and the idea was to keep growing the festival. And so this year was the third year, and it actually had published poets. And honestly, the first year I tried to get published poets, but they were like, "Who are you?"
Right. And now you have people calling, begging to be on it, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and so there was 24 poets, and it wasn't supposed to be that big, but so many people kept asking, and so I kept
Hmm.
extending the hours, and it ended up being this 8-hour festival. And then I wanted to get sign language in the festival, so they couldn't do it for free. It's quite a commitment, so I had to look for sponsors, which was something I had wanted to do. So I found a neighborhood sponsor who sponsored all of the sign language, and what a treat! It was like no wonder the poets wanted to be in the festival,
It
knowing
was so
that.
beautiful. Yeah, everyone
Yeah,
there, every person who was doing the interpreting, doing the sign language, each person had this wonderful personality, and they brought their own personality to each story and each poem and each song. It was amazing.
yeah, and luckily another sponsor was the Heck House, which is an arts venue. So they've got such an amazing uh, board members who also are video editors, and so they did
Hmm.
some video. And then John Phipps, Kimono All Star, um, he was there as a poet, but also took amazing clips. So the videos
Right.
will take some time to edit, but he posted such amazing clips, which was supposed to be my duty, but then I was just so had
You
so
had so many hats to wear. Yeah, Jeremy and Paulina and everyone at that Hack House were so amazing. John Phipps did a wonderful job doing clips, but he also did a wonderful job. I videoed him on the Kimono My House page, him reciting his poems, and they were from the heart. And I've said this to him for years now. Not only is he a good writer, he's a good interpreter and a good reader and a good storyteller. And I told him, go slow, take your time, and deliver. And he certainly did.
Yeah, he sure did. And yeah, it was so moving, because he wrote a poem about me. So there was one
Right.
poem about, and then another poem about me. So it was quite an honor to, I guess being the organizer has its perks, right?
Yeah. Well,
But
that's kind of what
yeah.
I absolutely loved it. You posted this video earlier this morning of you and I. We met online at the beginning of the pandemic, and we started doing these live streams, and we met and had a cup of coffee at Aurora, which is a coffee shop that I love supporting for years now. And we basically did an interview. I was talking about basically you asking me to give you some tips and advice on you furthering your career as a poet, a musician, a songwriter, and even just a performer. And I got a chance to watch that this morning. You shared it, and I loved it. And I love that it's like a recap now. Here it is a couple of years later, and you certainly have um, took some of those ideas and just ran with them.
Yeah, you told me to get gigs, which I did, festivals and porch fests. I mean, those are easy because I could always play with someone else. And I think
Right.
last year I actually did a solo build porch fests that was
Mhm.
on me. And so I've been lucky because my very first porch fest was with Kimono My House. So how easy was
Right.
that? Like Andy Gish just had all the backline support, made
Oh,
sure
she's the
that I
best.
was
Yeah.
all I had to do was be me, and Diane had to be princesses and just walk on, and everything was taken care of. I mean, how many
Right.
big performers get that? So it wasn't this organic growth for me. Thank goodness for all the friends I've had, but yeah, I've been able to play venues myself. So I've played Eddie's Attic, I've played
Yeah.
the Star Bar, um, I've even played. I've walked onto the stage with Mudcat, and
Hmm.
played a lead ukulele, and he turned and looked at me, and he didn't know I could do that. It was
Right.
yeah, so a lot of opportunities. But yeah, I did work. I did work hard for them, um, and yeah, so things happen quickly. There was one story I'd like to tell. There was one restaurant I played, and it was Sunday brunch, and not a. I sent out 200 invites, maybe
Right.
250, right? And a few people showed up. Jeff Evans, and then a table of three had actually made a reservation to see me,
Oh,
and so
wow.
I was a little deflated, 250 invites, but it was a Sunday brunch. And then there was a table sitting in front of me, and there was a man with his back to me, but I could tell he was listening to my lyrics because he kept nodding, and I had a couple funny lyrics, and he was laughing. And somehow he managed to take a photograph of me, and he posted an editorial of me on his website, and it turned out he was an editor for Atlanta magazine.
That's right. Yeah.
And so later on, maybe a few weeks later, um, I got an email from a photographer, and he said, "Oh, I'm a photographer for Atlanta magazine, and we're gonna run a feature on you. When can you come in?" So I said, "Oh, well, let me check my calendar," and I checked him out, and sure enough, he was a photographer. And he said, "Oh, it's going to be in the December issue." And I said, "Well, what?" I looked to see, well, what is the December issue? Is it the music edition, or what is it?
Yeah.
And it was the best of
The
issue.
best of the year. Yeah. That's wonderful.
Best, yeah. So then, So I went in, and the photo shoot went great, and then the issue comes out, and they had given me a full page photograph
Right.
and a little feature, and I thought, wow, what an incredible honor. From here I was, just really kind of deflated that
Hmm.
only a few people were in this restaurant. But I thought, you know what, they're here listening, I'm gonna give it my all. And
Yeah,
then one of them turns out to be one of the editors of Atlanta magazine. So
I absolutely love it.
you just never know who's listening. You just have to just keep going. And
That is a beautiful story. I've heard the story. I love hearing it, and I want to continue hearing it because it's an inspiring story. And you're absolutely right because I get down myself. I've been performing on stage for more than half my life now, and some days, well, you just get tired, and you say, "Is it worth it?" And but you got to treat each show as a special, different, unique show. You never know who is going to be listening. Every person, every human, every fan, every listener counts. They
yeah,
deserve that respect of us giving it our all, and it shows you it does pay off. You use this word that I'm a big fan of, and that we use a lot here in TCB Studios, and it's the word manifest. And I'd love to get you to say a few words about it because we manifest things. Even before I went on, I've had a lot going on, and sometimes I spread myself too thin, and I'm like, why am I doing all this? And I go, listen, stop, breathe, and manifest all of these good things. Manifest the good stuff, and it's something as simple as you saying, I want to manifest playing, being on stage with the Earl, or whatever it is, and I absolutely love it and respect it. And I've seen it firsthand as a friend and a fan watching you. I've seen it work.
yeah, and I don't just say, and I actually go to the place. When I said I wanted to play at Eddie's attic, I was in front of Eddie's attic and had a
Right,
picture of me that said Eddie's attic. And then months later I was there. So it's not like I'm just wishing, without doing the work. I put the
right.
work in, but I think it really does help to put an image out there, because I feel like when I put it on, like there's something magical really. No one ever talks about the magic of social media. So when I put an image of me
Right.
out there saying I want to play Eddie's attic, or here's a picture of me at Times Square playing in the middle of Times
Right.
Square, everyone who is seeing that image of me, I feel like is um, putting their goodwill onto
Right.
my manifestation. So they're helping me manifest it in their minds. So it's really amplifying the message that I'm sending to the universe, and making it more concrete.
I absolutely love that. Yeah. And like I said, I'm a big fan of that word, and I try to practice it myself. But there's so many different things that we can do to improve us manifesting things. And I want to get better at manifesting things because we all should want good things to happen for us as artists and musicians. And it's, let's say, to go play another country or to play another city. And so why not put that out there into the world and share it with your friends and fans?
Yeah, and you never know. I remember, like, at the beginning of the year, everybody puts their wish list down, and
Right.
I remember one. I think it was last year. I had written down a bunch of things, and one was for fun, and I thought I want to play at a wedding. My songs at a,
Right.
right, and I thought, oh, this will never happen, and then it happened. And so
Yes.
the more that things magic happens. And so I think, wow, that gave me that, I don't know, it just made me feel like, wow, there's nothing I can't ask for, because
That's
it will
right.
happen in some form. It wasn't a big, expensive, you know outlandish wedding. It was just a friend's, you know wedding, and there were other
Beautiful.
musicians there. Yeah, so it came true in a form.
I absolutely love that. And again, if you're open-minded, which we all are, or we strive to be, that's the best thing because again, it's just all you're really wanting is everything that we're doing, even us having this conversation, you and I have had so many wonderful conversations. It's just continue to, love and life expands and allow it to, and it's just giving us more great experiences. I mean, that's what it's all about. Whether it's watching your friend read his poetry, his or her poetry, watching him or her perform her songs, or you joining them on stage and dancing or playing with them. It's all just about love and life and gaining more wonderful experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to portray the positive, and but times are hard, and some
Hmm.
have my doubts too. Um, and you'll never doubt yourself more than when you're trying to record.
Right.
So, oh my goodness. I've had a lot of doubts, but luckily I've had a really strong support group. So, yeah. Yeah, there's that. So I'm recording my first EP, and it's been a long time in the making, but it's like something I feel like I can't avoid it anymore.
Yeah. It's inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the impetus for doing the EP is, well, I have a deep catalog, but also one of the things you told me um, in our interview way back 2 years ago was different venues, and from that I decided I wanted to try to do different cities in Georgia.
Right.
When
Hmm.
people tour, they tend to tour in other states, but I feel like I have yet to conquer Atlanta and the state of Georgia. So
Right.
I've since played Savannah. I'm planning to hit Macon. I've played
Right.
I've played in Athens, but not as a solo bill. So I've
Hmm.
played with friends, but now I'm trying to do, some trying to up the ante, and
Yeah.
I I've benefited by from playing with friends because in their bands, because then it's given me visibility as a musician. So, like I got to play at Blind Willie's with Chickens and
Right.
Pigs, but I wouldn't have been able to play there as a solo artist, not quite yet, but yet all these blues musicians saw me playing at Blind Willie's, so uh, and I was playing the bird whistle, so
Right. I
they
love.
got
We're big fans of the bird whistle. No, it's true, and it's like little by little you're knocking down these doors, and you're making a name for yourself, and they remember you because you have this wonderful way about you and this excitement that you deliver on stage, whether it's you by yourself or with others, and it's infectious and it creates this high so people remember you and they say, okay, yeah, well, let's get you in next time. And I'd like to get somebody in our conversation because I'm just a big fan of hers and she's a big fan of yours, and we've all been, I guess we need to be honest with each other, very instrumental in each other's musical lives and artistic journeys. So let's say hello to Renee.
Yay!
Hi.
Thank you for letting me be here.
I hope
I
I hope
love
I hope that was
Silvia.
I
I
hope
love
that was
her.
I hope that was a good segue.
That was an awesome segue, and I was making notes the whole time because I learn a lot from Silvia. I consider her one of my mentors. Tom is also
Such a
one,
pro,
Lars is
such
also
a
one.
pro.
She has, I always say this, she's one of the reasons why I was able to find my confidence and to get back into performing over the quarantine. And when I think of her, I always think of confidence. Look at all the cool stuff that she pulled off this
Right.
week. And I love,
Unbelievable.
it's just unbelievable. She's a powerhouse, and yet she exudes power and vulnerability and softness.
Right. Yeah.
One of the things that goes on in social media particularly, but people do this all the time, they front like everything is perfect in their lives, they don't have any struggles, they don't have any challenges,
Right.
and that's total BS. And it also doesn't inspire people or give them hope. The reason why Sylvia gives people hope, and it's the same with you, Tom, is both of you are vulnerable and honest and
Mm-hmm.
open about the challenges that life demands, and also
Yes.
art. Both of you are totally dedicated to the hard work and diligence that art demands, the business of show
Right.
and the art of show. Both of you
Right.
understand the right and left brain are necessary. So that's why I look to both of you as mentors,
Oh,
and you guys are just so compelling.
Well, I'm on your side with that. I feel 100% the same way about Sylvia, but vice versa, I feel the same way about you. But I want to throw in this question to Sylvia from both Renee and I. And again, I agree. I've said this for years. My brother came to see me before in New York City, and he said, the first few songs, your eyes are closed. And I go, I've been performing on stage for 26 years, and the first four songs, my eyes are always closed. I'm a nervous wreck. I'm still scared. But by the fifth song, I know I got it, and I'm about to start slaying it, and then my eyes are wide open. And I love that Sylvia is so honest with us, the viewer, and the fans and the audience about the nerves and the anxiety. But how do you pull off still? With just the right amount of us showing us that you have this confidence, because she really does, Renee, right? Have this
Yeah,
amazing
total
confidence.
confidence.
I'm just laughing because I don't really get nervous. I get emotional on stage, but I don't get nervous, and it's because one time I did a show and it was a live stream from Waller's, and I was getting into it. It was Valentine's Day, and then all of a sudden I closed my eyes and bam, I fell on my ass,
I
and
remember you
my
telling us.
my my skirt flew open, and it was a live stream in front of all
Oh
these
no.
songwriters. and and then when I
Ah!
got off stage, Ted Pettis said, "I saw your panties," and I'm like,
Oh my
"Oh, you
goodness.
so did not," and he did too. So
Oh
ever
my
So
God.
basically, you're telling the audience that's how you get a bunch of fans.
no, so I'm
That
like,
does work. I tell you
Yeah,
that works.
yes,
no, I'm
that's
laughing because
amazing.
the worst thing happened and I survived. So
Yes.
Right,
it,
yeah.
it was okay. Um,
Oh yeah. Well, the other thing is this: we take what we do seriously, like when I'm trying to craft and write a story, a song, or a poem down, and half the page is scribbled, whatever. You should dedicate yourself to taking that self so serious, But we can't take ourselves too seriously. So what you got to do. You got to laugh at that and be like, yeah.
Mhm.
I guess that's one of the things that happens on the job, and
and
sometimes you fall down with your legs in the air.
Yep. It
and
happens.
and that happened just I think a couple weeks before there was the BLT the Kimono Fest, and I
Yes.
played at Waller's, and my tuning peg suddenly after the sound check, my tuning peg decided not to work, and I only
Well,
had 20 minutes, and the clock was ticking, and this had
right.
months in the making, and then because everyone saw my panties already, I'm like, well, I guess I'll just stay calm through this too.
Right. Yeah. No.
What else
I
can
know.
you do?
Someone brought up a screwdriver and started helping fix your ukulele, and you're reciting poems. And like Renee said, the show must go on. And you did
Yeah.
you did. It was splendid. It was beautiful.
Yeah, so I guess I've been lucky. The universe has handed me things in a row that I could handle,
Right.
right? First my panty incident and then the tuning peg incident, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I try to think, the class, I actually think the three of us have a lot in common. Myself, you, Sylvia, and Renee. Although we completely attack things differently, I believe we show a bit of innocence. I believe we show vulnerability. I certainly think sometimes we're a little bit too honest, and sometimes we're a little too hard on ourselves. But no matter what, the show must go on, and we deliver. And I love that, and I love this conversation because the three of us have, I think, taught, whether we knew it or not, have taught you both have taught me something, and it's continued to open your eyes and learn more, because we can always perfect what we do and become a better
Yeah.
performer. I know I'm trying to become better at this, just having conversation on air, and it's all part of the process, and certainly trusting the process.
And it's about doing the work too. Like, I think when I was
Yeah,
younger, I just always thought that the most talented people became the most successful. And then I grew older and I realized that it's the talented people who also are willing to put in the hard work and
right.
overcome the obstacles. That grit, determination, that tenacity with the talent is really what separates, the people who truly become a success. You have to put in the work. You have to get the street cred. You have to go
Wow.
through it. You have to slog through all of those swamps before you get to that next level. So I never begrudge
Yeah,
anyone's success. So Sylvia's had an incredible year, a fantastic career, and
unbelievable.
I guarantee you that there are people who are going to be very jealous of that. But I want
Yeah,
everybody to know that she is there because of her innate talent and also her belief in herself and her get it doneness. And
one hundred percent.
and that dream boarding, when you were talking about manifesting,
Yes,
Sylvia, I've seen her do that again and again. She will focus on something and then she will keep going until she gets that eyes on the prize. And I've
right.
learned that from her too. If you a lot of people don't want to get into imagination or fantasy or dream boarding and that type of thing. But let me tell you something. If you can't think it, if you can't visualize it, how on
Yeah,
earth could you ever get to your destination? She
yeah,
is very she attacks things in a very logical way as well as artistic way,
right.
and that inspires me.
Yeah, and here's something else that I was thinking about, Renee, and certainly Sylvia's proven this because it's like a game, it's a grind, it's a hustle. I
Yeah.
mean, it's So I was listening to this motivational speaker talk a while back on NPR about a book that he had written and sold, and it was on the New York Times bestseller list. And certainly, some of his dear friends, his associates, even them, I guess, acted with a bit of jealousy. And
Hmm.
he said at one point he grabbed his book and he grabbed the paper and he grabbed the ribbon on the book and it says, "Does this say number one writer?" The guy goes, "No." He goes, "You're damn right. I'm not the number one writer. It says number one bestseller because I
Right.
wrote it and then I went out and hustled and I
Hmm.
talked to people and I pushed it." And
Yeah.
he goes, "It has nothing to do with my writing. It has to do with everything I've done after I wrote it." And I
Yeah.
feel that's what we do with on CCTV with us, this festival that Sylvia just put on. It's about every day we have these ideas and then continuing them and pushing them through.
Absolutely. Sylvia, that's what you stand for, Sylvia.
Yeah, I guess I've been very lucky because you know I've been transparent about all. I've been using social media as kind of my diary of my process, and
Hmm.
Yeah,
so many people now are thanking me for taking them on my journey of how I have
right,
things,
Yep.
and people who have become recent friends are so amazed, but people who have been friends for a long time have seen where I've come from and how I
Yep.
started out and how squeaky I was.
right. How far you've come.
Yeah, but yeah, it took all that to be able to become a performer that could roll with the punches. And now
Right.
I know how to be in the moment, no matter what that moment is. I was recently on a stage and I was, going through a lot of feels that day. And so the two songs I had planned out I was going to do these two songs, but then when it came down to performing them, I had a lot going on and I started thinking, when you write songs, it's like, for me, I get deja vu and I
Hmm.
remember who I wrote the song for, what I was feeling, and I was feeling it so intensely.
Right,
And I was thinking how the song had changed in its meaning. Um, and it really, I was trying not to cry. You know how it is, you try not to cry,
Yeah.
try
Hmm.
not to cry, because I really don't want to be that kind of performer that cries on stage. I want to be the performer that makes other people cry.
Yeah.
right. Or
So
Yeah.
think at least think about things. Yes,
yeah,
bring
so
them to the place.
oh, I,
Yes.
I tried so hard, and I'm like, oh man, all right, just go with it. And I
I
left.
think that's beautiful, though. I've cried on stage before doing songs that have brought me
Yeah.
back to the sweater or the smell of something or
Oh yeah.
someone when I wrote it. And I absolutely love it. And again, it's just one of those pieces of the onion that Renee and I are talking about. You constantly something's pulled off, and we're revealing something more beautiful and awesome about yourself as an artist. I still think you're figuring it all out, and that's the best part of it.
Yeah, but I think also I feel like as a performer, it's important to be in the moment and to have
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
feel what you're feeling. And no matter, all the technicalities, that's really what people are respond to. So I guess that's
Right.
message, just there's just so much going on, and there's just so much about songwriting that's autobiographical.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember when you asked me about that line and not messing around about the yellow pages, which now
Mhm.
seems like a lifetime ago, but it was
Yeah.
just a couple of years ago. But I was saying, yeah, growing up, I remember they said, let your fingers do the walking. And you were like,
Mhm.
yes, I do remember that. And
Yeah.
it brought me back to my adolescent years and
Mhm.
so many memories. And that's lovely when a couple of words next to each other can do that to you and then the listener.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think it comes down to, like, both of you being honest. Like you said, you don't want to cry
Hmm.
on stage, but if it happens, it happens, right? Like, Tom said something recently that really resonated with me, because the three of us on screen are very open, honest, and vulnerable in our
Yeah,
art, but we are also guarded in our personal lives.
very much
And
so.
I remember Tom saying on air like a few weeks ago, he said, "I feel like I give enough on stage. I don't need to give all of my
Yeah,
personal details,
yeah.
because you're already giving your soul, right?"
Yeah, no, and I've promised myself that for the rest of my life as an artist, I'm going to be that way. I have two definitely separate lives, and that can mess with people because I've gotten to become really good friends with people we work with, we play music with, and but then once in a while after the show, a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or tea or something, you realize they think they really know you, and they
Yeah.
know you from the songs that you've written or your on stage persona, but they literally have no idea of anything else. And I say, hey, listen, yeah, that's all you're going to know about me. This is where I'm pretty private actually about a lot of other things,
Yeah, I
and it's
say that to people too, and they don't even want to believe me. They have a
right,
narrative of the stage persona.
exactly.
I'm having that all the time now too, and it's really frustrating. And people need to respect those
Right.
boundaries that we are giving of our art, but
Hmm.
we are not opening all of the gates to our heart, our daily life, our
Right.
family.
I can,
You know,
yes, I can tell you all this, everyone watching and listening. Renee, one of my favorite people, certainly one of my favorite people to work with. I still don't know so many things about her, and it pisses me off.
yeah,
But
it
I
pisses me
respect,
off too. All of us
but,
on here are
but,
so secretive.
but I respect those boundaries, and it's great. People like Tom. Really, where do you live, and do you have three wives? I go, yeah. If you want to if you want to believe I have a wife in three states, go for it, guys.
There you go.
Yeah, very private. But I love the idea of the. And I keep on hearing about that lately. People mentioning like this beautiful, like the onion being peeled. I think you mentioned it a while back. So many people that we're fans of, and Sylvia is one of them. That
Yep.
constantly it's lovely, and I'm being surprised and impressed, and never disappointed. And also, like I said, I mentioned, Sylvia is a curator, an event planner, and a
Mhm.
talented chef. Um, you could tell me that she was married to a pirate in Greece who had one leg and basically
It could be true. It could be true.
started a war. I'd be like, oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. Sylvia, yeah, she's cool. I bet she was at one point.
You
Like
never
I
know.
love these stories.
Mhm.
Because nothing anyone says about about either of you would surprise me if it's
Mhm.
something that's badass and impressive. I'd be like, yeah, totally, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, but I love that. And Sylvia, that's the thing about you, and I think about you too. It's like, we know, people know our, I always try to explain it to people this way. I'm on, because they'll say to me, well, if you're saying you have two different lives, then what does it mean? You're lying in your art or whatever? And I'm like, no,
No,
I'm being open, honest in my
right.
art, but I am not giving you the keys to my
That
my
that's
family,
right.
my house, my actual
That's
feelings about my daily
absolutely
life.
right.
They don't deserve that. And so, and I think that the mystery, and I do that for my own serenity and because I respect
Yes, and
people,
sanity.
but,
Yes, and
and
peace. And
sanity. And
yeah,
but I also think that it's cool because it adds to the mystery as well. And I think that that might
yeah,
even detract from our art sometimes. I don't know, Sylvia, what do you think? Because I know Sylvia also has boundaries. She's
yes.
someone who has
Sylvia
very
wears a
secure
heart.
boundaries
Yeah,
as well.
you wear your heart on your sleeve, but you also have no problem saying, okay, that stops right here, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
she's very good about boundaries. Where does that come from, Sylvia? And how does that help you with your art and your
I
personal
have
life?
boundaries. I thought
Yes,
I thought I was
you.
confessional on social media. And and if you look at my art hard enough, you'll find all the crumbs in there.
Well, that's
Right.
where it is.
I
It's the
guess I'm
crumbs.
quite there's a Hawaiian concept. It's called the kauna, and it means hidden meaning. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
like when the missionaries came,
Beautiful.
the Hawaiians hid a lot of meaning in lyrics and songs, and often they were sexual. So, yeah, so a lot of my songs actually talk about things, and they're all in there.
But
My,
it's a hidden
Right.
meaning
Yeah.
for
yeah,
So
someone. Yeah,
you do double
breadcrumbs.
meanings. Yes. A lot of
Yes.
Sylvia's
yeah,
stuff is
Hmm.
just like food and food and sex, which I'm a big fan of both. So that's
Yes.
wonderful.
and
Yes,
animals,
but
I love that.
you
animals.
have these you have these double meanings, but they're also these beautiful things, which I'm a big fan of as well. Then all of a sudden you're talking about growing up and your mother, and see, that's also beautiful because
Yeah.
that's the stuff that makes people think they actually know you. And they're
Right.
like, yeah, you know
Yeah,
her. Yeah, yeah. She talked about, yeah, yeah. She gave you that little bit, but that's it,
Yeah,
But
that's what she gave you.
it's so wonderful.
I did an
Yeah,
interview in Orchid Times, and in the
I
end, the
love that.
beautiful girls asked me like advice on how to be, advice for being a poet or a
Yeah,
writer. And my advice is, just lead an interesting life, follow your
yeah. I,
passions, and then write about it. Then you have something interesting to write
I,
about.
I love that quote of yours, and and a
Mhm.
big shout out to Orchid Times. I'm a big fan of those girls. They're slaying it. They're so wonderful. A
Amazing.
really really great show. But I love that interview that you did with them. And I got to
Mhm.
say, Sylvia, that's really good advice to give to young girls. It's true.
Yeah. Mhm.
You got the tools. Live this good life. Make good decisions. Lead an interesting life. And I guarantee you're not going to put down that pen anytime soon. You'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, make a lot of mistakes, just try things and, learn from them and move forward like a warrior.
Make a lot. Don't make too many mistakes. Well, oh no, learn from learn. Well,
Learn from
listen,
the mistakes.
you know,
Yeah.
my dad used to tell me I never want to make the same mistake more than 20 or 25 times.
Yeah. Make a lot of mistakes because if you
Yeah,
don't make mistakes, you're not experimenting, but don't make the same mistakes. Always change it just a
exactly.
little
Yeah,
bit, even if it's just
yeah,
a little bit different.
yeah.
But if you're not making any mistakes and you're probably not pushing the boundaries, you're probably not
Right. Yeah.
experimenting. So it's
That's
that
good advice. That's
balance.
good advice, Renee. Yeah. Next time a young artist, male or female, asks me for advice, I'm going to say, learn to tweak your mistakes.
Yep. That's right. Yeah.
Change them every time.
Change them every time because they've
I,
done research. Like they actually did research and they found out that they could predict with almost absolute certainty who would be successful and who wouldn't just by seeing how many
yeah.
times they had failed but then tweaked it before they failed again and then tweaked it before they failed again and then they become successful as opposed to someone
Wow.
who never experimented or took any risk. You have to take those risks but
You have to
learn
do
from
that.
every mistake. Don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah, Werner Herzog, who is one of my heroes.
Oh, I love him.
I read two biographies of his, and when
Werner
he was asked for
Herzog.
advice, asked for advice by somebody, he said carry bolt cutters everywhere because there's gonna be a fence that somebody doesn't want you in. You want to cut through that fence and get in there and see what's going on.
I love that. And
Carry bolt cutters everywhere.
that has to be a motto or something, but that is Sylvia because I remember the first time I saw Sylvia actually. It was on KMH, I believe, and
Hmm.
she was playing the ukulele and I just said, "What is this? I have
Yeah,
never seen this before."
right.
Because
And the
it's a
delivery,
beautiful woman and she's doing that delivery and she's doing the ukulele and she's doing the wordplay and she's got these double entendres and she's confident, but
yeah,
she's vulnerable, she's powerful, but she's soft. And I'm like, what am I looking at here? I will
yeah.
always remember that moment. It was
Me
incredible.
too.
Sylvia,
Yeah.
you're so unique.
We did a BLT live event, on I think it was a Wednesday night, and I think Ben Thrower and I are performing, and Sylvia went on and did a BLT performance as well. And it wasn't long after that she reached out to me and said, "I know there's a pandemic going on, but can we meet? We'll be careful, wear masks, whatever." And we met at Aurora Coffee, and we did that interview that we talked about today, and
Wow, I loved
we had
that.
great conversation. But to be honest with you, it happened because she reached out to me. You reached out to me, and I'm glad I was able to do it, and I had a great time and wonderful conversation. But you were writing down these notes, and you're like, I'm going to do this. This I've already halfway done already. This will be done next week, and it's about lists and getting these lists done, checking them off.
Yeah, one step at a time. Have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. So this weekend was really so beautiful, and I was supposed to read at the end of the evening, but I had a family emergency and had to cut out around 7 o'clock, about an hour and a half or 2 hours before I was going to read. But I got to watch so much of it in person, and then some of it from down the block while I was on the phone taking care of some family stuff on live streams, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I really, I think you got on the scale of 0 to 100. You got 100 on this, and I know you had help. You had so many people help you with this, but you were there and taking care of business, which we're a big fan of. What is the plan to do it next time, next year? I mean, because you obviously want to watch this thing grow.
Yeah. So my model is the AJC Decatur Book Festival, and that was huge. So there's such a community of poets here in Atlanta,
Yeah,
and so there's no end of people who would like to read.
right.
But I wanted to provide something unique. I've been to poetry slams and festivals, but this one I wanted to put my own stamp to it. So it
You
was the
did.
4-day festival, and I wanted to have emerging talent as well as published poets, not just published poets, but new people. And it was the emerging talent that really surprised me. One of the poets was a friend of a friend, and he said he'd written some poems, and he didn't think he could even do 10 minutes. Well, the deadline of the poetry festival, by the time he came to the festival, it inspired him, and he had more than 20 minutes worth. And it was
Beautiful.
like story after story like that. And then the first poet, I was a little worried he didn't submit his poems in time. I didn't get to see the poems because we needed the poems ahead for the sign language
Right.
interpreters. And I wasn't sure. I checked out his social media, and I thought, he called himself a poet. Um, and then I wasn't sure. And then when he read, I almost really started crying, and I was really holding back because they were like the most beautiful and
Yeah,
most.
he was absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that he had all these poems, but he'd never published before. And I,
Wow.
wow, you should be publishing or at least going to the slams or, being part of
Yeah.
poetry community, going to the Little Five Points Poetry Bash, which is right there
Right.
on Lords. There's so many communities,
Yeah.
and
Right.
there's like spoken word communities and hip hop word communities,
Yeah.
and they're not really intersecting as much as they would like.
Right.
In fact,
And you did. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
the last poet was a walk-on, a friend of a friend, and she was a true spoken word
she
artist.
was so beautiful, amazing.
God, you could hear a pin drop. She was amazing, and she said she'd always wanted to do these kind of more traditional poetry, you know, uh, circuits, but she didn't know how. And then she did that, and now she's connecting with the Heck House, and it's
Wonderful.
I'm so happy to be part of communities intersecting. So we were trying to get the deaf community to come because now
Yeah.
we're
Oh,
being
yeah.
signed.
Mhm.
So it was about bringing, different people who might not have met, like these
Yeah.
new
Right.
poets thought, oh my God, like Paul, the first poet, Paul said, oh my God, I'm in the same lineup as Kodak Harrison. He couldn't believe it.
Right. Yeah. So wonderful. Renee and I were talking about all these hats that you wear, and I said by the end of our conversation, our interview with you, so many more hats will be revealed. And I'm here to tell people, whether you know it or not, you are a facilitator. You're making things happen, and you're making lives and scenes and communities connect. And that might be the most important thing of everything. And I
Yeah.
appreciate it
Mhm.
so much. And such a big big fan of yours, and I love us constantly, all three of us, building each other up, never
Yeah.
tearing each other down, only lifting each other up, constantly encouraging each other. And I love watching this journey, and I'm with everyone else. Thank you for including us on your journey.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia, so much.
Yeah, but it, you know what? It never would have happened without the pandemic, really, because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
kimono really just God. I met Jeff Evans and he changed my life. Just
The
I was
best.
so
Yeah.
Jeff is the
inspired.
best. Yes. Yeah. And everyone in KMH, and then
Chickens and pigs.
SDF and CCTV. All these wonderful things have come about. And I got news for everyone. More beautiful things are coming about. We
Yeah.
trust the process and continue. Love expands, and let all the good stuff happen.
Yeah, and things have changed. Like, in the beginning, I guess I needed to talk about this. In the beginning, I things happened so quickly, and then the uh, East Atlanta strut happened, and the Kimono My House did a festival there,
Right.
and
Mhm.
I needed a performer name, so I'm like, oh, okay, Sylvia on the ukulele, because I
It's such a great name. It's a great name.
yes. But then now, I play other instruments. So then it's like, okay, well, I play the banjo, I play the cajon, I play, I'm learning the
Mhm.
bass and
Right.
and I can play a night shaker.
Oh, you can,
Versatile.
you can play anything you want, Sylvia. We know that already.
Yeah.
You've proven that to us.
Yeah, it's not
Yes.
about the instrument, it's about the musician, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's
I
about
get
that
that. Yeah.
passion, and that delivery. And going back to that one more thing that we talked about earlier about the fear, which is very okay, but let's say of the fear of us even crying on stage. I
Mm.
love records. I listen to records every day. I listen to music every day of my life, and for the rest of my life, I will listen to music every day. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't go to a show for it to sound exactly like the record. I want to see the guitarist maybe on a
Yeah.
solo make a mistake. I want
Me
to see
too.
someone maybe cry. I want I sometimes someone forgets the words and they put in another word and somehow that sounds better than the original word.
Exactly.
Listen, let it be and let it be
Mhm.
free and enjoy trust the process and enjoy the ride. I mean, we bought the ticket. Let's go for the ride. That's why we burn it down.
Yeah.
So it's been a transformation from those early days. And so now I've had a name change, and it took me a while to
Yes.
figure it out, but my new name is Passiflora Incarnata.
Love it.
Yes.
I
So,
love it. It's
ladies,
so you.
Yeah, it's a
so
name
ladies
that
and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce you to
Passiflora Incarnata, which is the
Passiflora
Latin
incarnata.
name, and I am a certified master gardener, so we always use the Latin name, and it's
Hmm.
for the passion flower and passion fruits plant,
Hmm.
the passion fruit
Mhm.
pulp. But in Latin, it actually translates to passion in the flesh.
I love it.
Oh, oh, wow. Yeah. Like
One-
incarnation.
So
Yeah.
once again, Sylvia getting sexual. We love it.
I love
Right?
it. It's always she's very, yes. I
I'm
love it.
such a big fan. I really do love this show. I love the conversations. We've said it since day one. We never wanted to sound like an interview, and this certainly didn't.
Yeah.
Three smart people who are fans of each other. I love Renee being on the show with me now,
Thank
coming in
you.
for a little bit. Thank you guys, and thank you guys for watching. Please. Continue to watch Sylvia's journey. Next week, we're bringing somebody back for the first time. We're talking to Chad Radford about his new book
Yay.
on record stores, which I'm super excited. And I was reading it and he thanked me on the first page. I was like, what? Thank you, Chad. Listen, we're, since we're artists, we're insecure. When we get name dropped, it feels really good. Um, Thank you
Mhm.
guys so much. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Renee. Thank you guys for watching. Everyone have a beautiful and a positive and a choose awesome type of week. And if you're down, reach out because we'll lift you up. Much love.